Hey, hey, hey.
Good evening, good evening, good evening, people. How you doing,
Hi,
Debbie?
everyone. Another episode of Gym. Say time.
Hi.
Gym time. No,
Jim,
I just threw you on the spot there. Another episode of Gym Time. Get your motivation. Good to see you, Paul. You're looking well.
sitting in the sun, innit? Hey,
Yeah.
I hear all these people complaining about the sun. No. Want it to kiss me, get me darker, one up. That's what I like to be. When I was a baby, I was dark, innit?
Yeah, absolutely.
Climatized to England. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As rightfully Debbie said, Gym Time. Get your motivation on. This is a wonderful topic tonight, and Debbie by giving my I've done it to you now.
I had to think for a second. Disclaimer.
Disclaimer. So what we'd like to do here is empower, motivate, and encourage you, and possibly give you pointers that you can use in your relationship that could add value. They've been valuable for us. We're still growing. We're still experiencing different things. And what we'd like to say is that don't cut our throats if it don't work. It's just a template. Some things are actually just a template, and what you can do is you can adapt them and adjust it a little bit, fine tune it to who you are as an individual. So don't chop off our necks if it don't work for you. Okay. We just want to do our best to try to bring some value. That's my disclaimer for today.
Absolutely. So here I go. What do you think of my sign in the back?
Yeah, I
kind of
I have to leave my house, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna
just hang it from the.
Yeah, I'm gonna soup up the car. I'm gonna probably sit in the back, turn my back to the car so it's all hanging on the mirror and everything on air. I'm gonna have lights flashing,
Get the whole pimp my ride going on in the back.
This is what, yeah. Listen. You think
you're right. They could be your office. They could be your studio in the back.
Exactly. I black the windows, have a big light up in there.
Exactly.
People will wonder what's going on.
They would do. But anyway, hi guys, it's me, Debbie, once again. And my disclaimer is the thing that I always say to people, I don't know everything, but what I do know, I'm willing to share with you. And, some of the things that I've done is tried and tested and proven to work, absolutely work. Like in this present moment in time, there are people who's been signposted to me for this very reason, to help and support in relationships, because it's tried and tested. And so there are areas that, you just have to grow and you just have to excel on in those areas. But I just want to say that there are things that we will share with you. You can take it and you can use it. Perfectly fine to do that. You can say Debbie and Paul said so, but if it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's not one size fits all when it comes to relationships. There are so many diverse things that happens within relationships that we're all growing and we're all evolving. And so it's about seeing if something works, and if it doesn't, don't be hardwired, so that you don't want to change it. So we always do the disclaimer, because we're not professionals, like with titles, but we're professionals in terms of experience. We both are divorcees. We've both got children, grandchildren. We've lived a little while in it for. We've lived a little while, and we've learned.
We started so young. We started so young as well.
Absolutely.
Well, you started younger than me when it comes to the children.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
We were streetwise.
Adult grandchildren.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny because I was talking to Kiara about that today, about being streetwise. Kiara is one of my daughters. I said I'm going to mention her tonight because she reminds me so much of my sister. You know, we had a deep discussion today about relationships because there's a boy, and it was just wonderful to be able to talk and express, and her expressing her feelings. You know, and again about this unspoken expectations. She had an expectation that got fulfilled, that I wasn't going to be that dad that says, what you tell me about boy for? Boyfriend?
You know, boyfriend?
Go
learn your book.
Boyfriend?
Go learn your book.
Daddy would have said something like that.
Exactly.
Boyfriend? Go learn your book.
Yeah. So we wanted to, like, I came up with the topic because I was having a conversation with someone during the week. This is how this basically came about. And the good thing about it was that I listened to different coaches and mentors and so forth. And so I don't know if you know of him. What is his name again? It's just slipped my mind. But he's a really good coach. He's from the United States. And if you pull it up, Paul, then you know they can go and they can check him out, because he's I know it's Gaskin, but I can't remember what his first name is at the moment. But yeah, he was speaking on the very topic that me and this person was talking about, and I know that you're probably watching, so you know that you know what the topic is about. But you know, just having several conversations with people over the last few weeks, but I think that one kind of solidified it for me in terms of bringing this topic about unspoken expectations. And so oftentimes, like I would say what I mean by unspoken expectations. So within a relationship, I said it from word get-go, you get into a relationship with a representative. That person, man or woman, is always going to put the best side of them forward, because it's like going into sales, and it's like you selling yourself. So you want them to see you in the best light. You know, the woman want their hair to be done, makeup done, looking always nice. The guys always want to look sharp, smell nice, and all of that. So you go through those stages, and absolutely that's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But you have to go a little bit deeper, a little bit below the surface. And sometimes what happens when you get into a relationship with this person, now you might have expectations on what that person ought to be like, and you might not have said that to the person. You might not say verbally to them that this is what I expect in my relationship, in my marriage. And then you enter into disappointment. So disappointment is normally comes about by having expectations that are not met. And so knowing what it is that you want in the relationship beforehand and speaking that out is going to be key, because that person is not going to know that you have expectations of them. And when when you don't meet that expectation, they feel like, well, you feel like that person isn't for you. That person hasn't done that thing, and then there comes that whole cycle of wanting to change someone to fit into that box. So what did you think about, because what is the guy called again?
Tony Gaskins.
Tony Gaskins. Yeah, so check him out on social media, guys. He's really good.
Yeah, I put his name in the chat.
Oh,
first one was Gaskin, but it's Gaskins.
Gaskins, yeah. Right. But yeah, check him out on social media. I've been following him for a few years, so it was when I actually heard his message that I thought, yeah, I definitely wanted us to speak on this subject. But yeah, what did you think about the actual topic, Paul?
See, I think it's challenging for men. I say for men because I'm talking from my perspective, because he was coming at, as much as that he was talking about generally men and women, and it does work on both sides. There is a lot about us as men that, you know, this masculinity, and that there's some of us has come from homes where we don't have fathers, you know, or our fathers were absent, or you know, the fathers were there but they wasn't there. You know, you're in the house but there's no care, there's no nurturing as well, because I think people get the wrong idea that fathers don't nurture. There is nurturing as well that we do, not in the same way as a woman would, you know, but in the way that we, you know, interact with our children as well, in the way that we lead them. So when he was talking, I felt very encouraged by him, because I'm challenging myself as well to stop looking at things from learnt behavior, you know, or what society says as a man I ought to be. So I think when I don't know if you got the any of the clip at all.
I have actually got the clip. I have
you know,
actually.
but it's very challenging and it's very deep. And I think that if anybody listening to that, you know, a man or woman, you're challenged to change your perspective in your relationship. I was doing a little bit of research. As much as that we come on here and we're sharing our experiences, we do go away and we do look at other people's perspectives as well, and see if they match ours, see if it can challenge ours as well. And while I was looking earlier on, I just put up a little snippet of something, and it says in a good enough, and I like how it started. In a good enough relationship, people have high expectations for how they're treated. They expect to be treated with kindness, love, affection, and respect. They do not tolerate emotional or physical abuse. They expect their partner to be loyal. And you see, the thing is that as much as that we look at treated with kindness, how many can say that they use kind words? You know, sometimes we have the expectation of wanting someone to be kind, but yet we don't reciprocate. Thank you. Reciprocate. Am I going to get that out tonight?
Go on. You made me not say it properly. I was saying
reciprocate. There you go.
You just say reciprocate.
Yeah.
I was going to say the same thing.
Yeah. The same thing. This is what I like about being live. This is what I like about being real, because it's not like, you know, we're here and absolutely
keeping it 100.
You know, yes, perfectly spoken. I like that I make mistakes, like that, you know, because that tells me that, you know, yeah, that's it, you know.
Yeah.
But how many times do we don't use kind words? You know, we say we love, but yet we don't express love in the way, or tell our partners how much we love or even care for them. You know, that kindness, as it's saying, kindness, love, affection. How many times, you know, that he's got on your nerves or she's got on your nerves, and you think, shh, touch me, or I don't really want to talk to you, you know, as opposed to expressing what it is that you feel, you know, and the respect. Because you see that if you don't have the respect, then that kindness, that love, and that affection goes right out the window.
Absolutely.
You know? And people would want to probably put that in a different category, but respect, because you respect yourself, you should automatically respect other people.
Yeah, that's right.
If you respect, then you can love, you know. Some people may see it from a different perspective to what I'm saying. However, that's how I feel. If you'd asked me this about 20 or 30 years ago, I'd give you a whole different chat.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But
You'd be like, that, what? Love?
Yeah. What?
You'd
love?
be like Tina Turner. What's love got to do with it?
Yeah,
that's love.
If she ain't talking to me right, why am I going to be loving her? Listen, sometimes, you know, you have to take them. I'm not talking about anybody abusing you, because that's a totally different subject in itself.
Absolutely.
You know, but you can also look at, why is this person acting like this?
Yeah.
You know, and that's where, you know, this high expectation and it's not met crashes down to the ground, you know. And I think we can go back to, you know, when we were talking about dating, we can go right the way back there, you know.
Yeah.
To this expectation.
But don't you think the thing is, having the expectation isn't a problem.
No.
Not sharing the expectation is where the problem comes in, because if it's unspoken, and then you're expecting that person to meet that need, the thing that you expect them to do, and you have not told them to do that, you're constantly going to be at loggerheads, because you have never gone to that person and said, I need you to do X, Y, and Z. That person isn't going to know that that's a need, and let me put it like a fundamental need then that you have, because you're only going to get disappointed on that. I can't just say with fundamentals, because say for instance your expectation as a woman, yeah, is that every time you go out, that man opens the door for you. That man, you know, opens the car door, opens the restaurant door, does that. That's what your other partners did. So you just expect that within a relationship now. It's an unspoken expectation. Yeah.
Mm.
Now, if that man doesn't do it, straight away, someone will be like, he's a waste man. You know what I mean? He's not, he's no
He
good.
don't care for
I
me.
ain't
He
going,
don't care
I
for
ain't
me.
going out with him again. I ain't going on a
Mm.
date. But it's an unspoken expectation. You didn't even give that person a chance. You didn't even say, do you know what? I really like it when a man opens a door for me. He might have met a woman who says, I don't like it when a man does that. Do you get
Yeah,
what I mean?
it's
I
too
don't like
much.
it. You open
Yeah,
the
it's
door
too
for
much.
yourself.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
you don't know what that person wants until
Mm.
you're in that relationship. And if for instance you wanted that door to be open and he didn't, and then you've got an attitude, that's wrong. That's straight up wrong, because he won't know what it is that he's coming up against. But I
Mm.
do find this with because I mainly speak to women, speak to a few of my friends, partners, and so forth. But I primarily speak to women, and it's a thing with women. It's just like, yeah, but he should just know how. If he's been in relationships where this has never been an issue for him, a woman's never wanted him to open the door. He's done it, and it's kind of like, why are you doing that for? I can open the door
Yeah,
myself.
yeah, yeah.
Then he will now adopt the attitude of, unless you say to him, open the door, he might not do it. It's an unspoken expectation, and then you're going to get disappointed, and then you're going to get an attitude. He don't know why you've got an attitude, and that's where things just get shady, you know.
Mm.
So I'm going to ask you this: like, as Christians, we opt for premarital counseling, right? A lot of Christians do that. I don't think it's just a Christian thing. I think it's healthy that if you're going to go into marriage, that you have premarital counseling. What do you think?
I think that if you're going to have, I mean, I agree. Yeah, I think if you're going to go into a relationship with somebody,
So not just a
intimate,
relationship,
no,
marriage.
intimate, marriage. Okay, but okay, into marriage. Yeah, I think it's important to have a mediator. You know,
Mm-hmm.
but I think you have to really search for a good counselor. You know, because I had
And does it have to
one.
be a counselor, or could it just be a mature couple who are
Even
just
that,
wiser?
even that,
They've been married for a while, because some
even
people
that.
don't like the counselling, in it. Some people don't
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's a counselor, but a mature couple who's been married for some time, who's, you know, gone through challenges,
Who's
they
real?
will be
Who's
able,
real?
yeah, they will be able to
Yeah.
say, do you know what? Let us look to see whether this relationship is tangible. Like, you put your cards down, you put your cards down. Let's see how you guys are going to work through things, and even give scenarios and role
Mm,
plays. Like, if I was doing marriage counseling, or, you know, being a mediator, I'll be doing role plays. You know, I'll be throwing
yeah,
a spanners in the works. I'll be
yeah.
doing all of that
We,
just to see how you guys are going to handle that.
yeah. I think like you said, the role play thing is, I think it's important as well, because real things happen, real crappy
Absolutely.
things happen, you know,
Mhm.
and you have to know. There's a thing that I've been saying recently. We need to come out of our feelings. You
Yeah.
know, we get so emotionally caught up in our feelings because of unspoken
Say it again.
expectations. You know,
It's
we
true.
really do need to not get caught up in our feelings. I'm
Give
I'm
me an
I'm
example. Give me an example
okay.
of being caught up.
Okay. Um, this put me on the spot, but you know me. Um, okay. I have a thing about how people speak to me. No, let me say it another way. I have a thing about um if my wife speaks a particular way, how I can be upset about it. You
Mm-hmm.
know, because I think that what she says is saying it in a derogatory way.
Mm-hmm.
And so I get offended by it.
Mm-hmm.
And I come to the understanding that sometimes people express themselves in the way that they do. And now I have to take what she says with a pinch of salt in some respect, or the way she's translated that to me, and try to either come back to her and say, what do you mean by that? Or, you know, the way you put it across to me made me feel like, for her, because what she's saying can be valid.
But if you're in your feelings,
if I'm in my feelings, I'm watching what she's saying to me, as opposed to the content of what she's saying to me.
Absolutely.
And I'm learning now to listen to the content. As opposed to talking to me like that. And it's,
but you know what, the tone and that lot is so important though. I was sharing with someone that I was coaching the other day, and I said it's so important. You can read Dennis's comment in a minute. It's so important because I said that you can be saying exactly the same thing, but it's how you're saying it. Like you can say, move that thing out of the way, man. Or you can say, could you move that thing out of the way? Do you get, I mean, you're saying the same thing, but you're coming with an attitude. And the thing is, I do pick up on the attitude. I'm like, the thing is, I just tend to ignore foolishness. That's what I tend to do. Sometimes I will chase that rabbit. Sometimes I'll be like, the way that you said that, I don't kind of like how you said that. Do you know what I mean? And
then you see, don't you think that some people can defend that themselves? I didn't say it in any way.
I didn't say it in any way. And then you're like, but you did. And then you're going on this roller coaster with this person. Read Dennis's comment because it's quite valid. And then I think that's a more. I've
learned to do this as well. Yeah. Post-marriage counseling, also maintenance in dating. Just be the person you were in the beginning. Lots of people send their representative.
Absolutely, yeah. That's what we were discussing the other week, Dennis. People tend to do that, and it's difficult. Go on.
No, you read that one. I was going to say.
A good mentors could be useful, but could they be counterproductive, as they only can talk from their own experience, which cannot understand the individuals they are mentoring? Absolutely, but that's just exactly like what we're doing here. We're talking from our experience. We're talking from the things that we have gone through, and then it's giving another voice to a conversation that you might have had. So absolutely, you're going to have to navigate through your relationship by yourself, but ultimately hearing it from somebody else who is more mature, that has understood life a little bit more better than what you have as a married person. Like if you've never, like I remember I had my first child at 14 years old. Yeah. And I remember having a conversation with a woman that was in her 30s, and she turned around and she said to me, she said, do you know what, Debbie, could you tell me about how you did this? And I looked at her and I thought, that is really, she's much older than me. She was in her 30s and I was in my 20s. And she said, and I said to her, yeah, no problem. And she goes, I'm only asking you about this because you've been a mum far longer than what I have. And so you've got more experience in that area. And up to that point, I didn't look at it like that. It might sound crazy, but I was like in my early 20s. She was in her 30s. She's just had her child. My child is big and running around and talking and all the rest of it. And she was asking me for advice simply because I was rather longer than her. It had nothing to do with my age, but it had to do with my experience. And so absolutely, you're going to find that people are going to talk from their perspective, but not only just from their perspective. They would have, like the circle of people that I'm around tend to read books, have their own personal mentors, you know, like our knowledge isn't just coming from our experience. Like Paul said earlier on, before we do our podcast, we will do some research. We'll look at different people's opinions and so forth, and see for ourselves even how things stretch us. I read books and listen to various different people who are really good. Like for instance, this man here, John M. Gottman, he has phenomenal material. This one is called The Seven Principles of Making Marriage Work. I didn't put this here for the show. It's because it's a book that I'm reading, and it's about getting that information from somebody who might be a mentor or just a mature couple, or you know, a counselor. Getting that information digesting it and see how it works in your relationship.
Because don't you find that you do have people who are going through marital issues or relationship issues, that they come to you because they know, you know what, not just your divorcee, but it is a wealth of experience. And it's not like we're perfectly right. But I tell you something, there's some do's and don'ts, you know, and all the don'ts I was doing. So now, you know, I'm at that place where I know not to do those things, you know, anymore to my best ability, because some things are innate, some things are learnt behavior, and you got to now source and get those things out of you, your mindset. Like when someone said to me the first time, you know, you can't be married and have a single man's mentality. And I thought, what are you talking about? You know, I'm married. You know, I'm married. I know I'm married. You know, what are you talking to me about that for? As time went on, I realized exactly what they meant.
Yeah.
There's certain things that you just don't do. It's come this again. You could say the unspoken expectation. You know, if you, for a man and for a woman, if you allow certain things to just run and you never address those things, when you're bringing it up later on, it's way too late. That's why you're going to have arguments. This is why you're going to clash. Because I'm not saying, oh, you jump on everything. You know what? I don't like a man not washing up. You know, you better take the bin out. You better. It's not a long list. You can compromise. You can find that balance. But you cannot. And as me, I cannot have. I couldn't continue with a single man's mentality. And going to what you said about unspoken expectations, I remember I said to someone, I have no expectation of you, you know, anymore. And I said anymore because I was getting disappointed.
Yeah.
You know, because what I expected, it wasn't happening. And that's why I said I've got to the place of getting out of my feelings, get out of my feelings. There are some expectations, you know.
There are.
You know, I had to repent.
But how about not having, not so much not having no expectations, but lowering that expectation, because that also helps to curb that disappointment.
Of course.
Put that. And I hear you, Ammo one. They're saying, how hard is it to say my name? Elbow cough.
Do you know who that is?
Is that Anthony?
Yeah.
Yeah. I could tell by the sense of humor. Okay. Can it be counterproductive though? Think of the religious folks, for example. So I think that when it comes to people who are Christians, I think that there are certain principles that they expect others to live by, even when it's not necessarily what those people, you know, have signed up for. So I do think, like let me give you an example. I was speaking to someone yesterday because I work with women who's experienced domestic violence, and some time ago somebody asked me this question. They said, would you work with gays and lesbians, lesbians really? And I said, absolutely. And they was like, oh, right, but you're a Christian. Like, I was like, what's that got to do with it? People are people. What, you don't think a woman will look down another woman? You don't think domestic abuse is domestic abuse? You don't think that this has happened? And it's harder for those people in those situations, because the first thing that people are going to say to them, well, if it was a man, you probably wouldn't get licked down. Do you get what I mean? It's because you're with another woman while you are at loggerheads and getting licked down. But that is not the point. The point is that person is experiencing domestic abuse. Do I help them or don't I help them? Am I supporting women or am I not supporting women? And so from a Christian or religious perspective, you have to step outside of the way how you might have it all in a box and realize that you're meant to be supporting people at where they're at. You're meant to be showing them love. You're meant to be counseling them. You're meant to be doing what is right for them, not based upon their sexuality or anything like that. That's what you're meant to be doing. And if you're going to be putting all of your Christian values on it, I will question whether you are, you know, fit to do the counseling or the mentoring and so forth, because it's not about your beliefs in that moment in time. It's about what is best for that individual.
So do you think then that if you was dealing with someone who was non-binary and they identified themselves as, well, I know a man who identified himself as broccoli. Yeah.
That's your business.
No, he was on TV as well.
It could be cat food. Do you know what I mean? That's your business. I know who I'm talking to. That I'm talking to a human being, isn't it?
Yeah. So are you saying then that if he was saying that he's experiencing domestic abuse as well, because he identifies himself as broccoli, but the person he's with now wants to call him Clive, and he doesn't want that, and Clive is beating him, would you still step in there, or would you think
absolutely? Because I know that.
One second, when he's now, because of he's identifying himself as a vegetable, would you think that that's foolishness and not counsel that person, or would you?
But the thing is, you have the option to counsel whoever you choose to counsel, by the way. If I felt as though this is just going to be too much for me, I would say, unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to counsel you. I have the right to do that. But
sorry,
on the same token, I know you're trying not to laugh, innit? You're so silly about broccoli. I can see you try not to laugh. But the reality is, if somebody is still getting licked down by a man, yeah, or a woman, don't matter whether they're cat food, the grass, or whatever, they're still getting licked down. That's their reality.
Because they're a human being. You'll deal with it because they're human
being who's been abused. And I would have to call that person broccoli. Like, I would have to, do you know what I mean? But I know I probably couldn't take that seriously. I'll probably be like, I'm not too sure if I can work with this person. I have the right to do that. Sending to Maudsley. Tell it straight to Maudsley. But you have the right. You genuinely have the right to work with whoever you're going to work with.
Yeah.
But going back to the unspoken expectations. So do you think that when you're, like, for instance, we spoke about speaking to somebody who's more mature, somebody who's a counselor, do you think that unspoken expectation should be spoken before or whilst you're in a relationship? And the reason why I asked that for a specific reason. What do you think?
I would say both, because some people are not talkers, which then, you're with somebody who seemingly talk a lot in the beginning, and then all of a sudden they don't, and you have this expectation that they're going to continue to be a talker, but they're not really like that. I think it works on both. I think that during your dating period, I think that expectations should come up, and I do believe that even if they're high in what you're talking about, it's whether or not that person is going to accept that. I there's been times where I will come out and go around the car and open the door for my wife, but I don't do it all the time.
Yeah.
And she doesn't expect me to do it all the time.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes you
as an individual, I kind of feel kind of special, like when that happens. But I don't feel like he has to do that all the time. But it's nice. Yeah. It's really nice when he does. Yeah. Do you get what I mean? I think you kind of like as a woman, you kind of slide into the car differently. Do you know what I mean? It's like you don't get in there all raggle. You don't even touch the ground. You just slide in. Yeah. When the door's open, it's like you put your bottom in and then you swing your legs round. You act all kind of cute because he's opening the door. So now you have to be cute with it.
I think that there should be a balance. When we're speaking about expectation or unspoken expectations, again, I think you should in yourself know, what, this is what I expect, but this is what I'm expecting to do for somebody else. Yeah. And so in the dating period, you can have that conversation, and I think you kind of gauge from the beginning, it's a bit like the high maintenance that we were talking about. Yeah.
If you didn't watch High Maintenance,
like I said, that was last week's, and please, if you haven't watched it, go and watch it. It's quite funny as well.
Go back and watch it.
I think it's on both sides, Debbie. I think you do it prior to.
I agree.
And you do it, when
when you're in a
when
relationship,
you're in a relationship as well. Yeah.
because don't you think that you might not really know whether that's something that you want in this relationship? You might have
Mm.
expected it before, but you might not know whether you want it in that relationship. And also, there are things that I think that as well, if your expectation changes, you ought to have that conversation with that person. But I
Mm.
wanted to throw this one in there because
I want to throw something at you afterwards as
because
well.
Anthony like spoke about religious folks and so forth. So what do you think about, because as Christians we're meant to have sex after marriage, yeah? What do you think about the expectation of that? Like the person prior to getting married speaks about all manner of stuff, how amazing it's going to be, and because you haven't been with that person before, so you only can speak based upon what you would like to happen in that relationship. Do you think it's a conversation that ought to be had or not to be had? Because if somebody's bigging up what they might do in the marriage, and then when you're now married that
It's
don't run,
flops.
do
Mm-hmm.
you think that conversation should be had? Because then that person's expectation is like, whoa,
See,
and then
it's that's a difficult one, because you can say all these things of who you believe you are or who you was before,
yeah,
because having male friends, some men big up themselves, you know, and as the tune says, all night long. Yeah, but all of a sudden now you're 10 minutes, you know.
ooh,
But
3
you but you've
minutes
said to you but
long.
you've said you've thrown it out there, girl. Listen, when we're
Isn't
married,
it? That's my tune. That's my
all
tune.
night long. And all of a sudden now, she's got this expectation that, oh gosh, I didn't know I married this kind of, 10 minutes. And she do you then address it and say, well, I used to be like that, and like, so I'm sorry, Anita. I think it's very difficult. I'm sorry, Anthony. I think it's very difficult. I think that especially sex, it's a together thing. I think I can say from my perspective that whoever I was before
Yeah.
was who I was before.
Yeah, you might not be that
Yeah?
person with that
I might not
person.
be that person
And it
with that
might take a little
person.
while
You know,
still.
it might take a little while.
Right.
Um, However, that person, that woman, may not be used to what you do, the way that you do it.
Absolutely.
So now you've got to adapt. So there's no point from my perspective, there's no point now. If you said to me before, I would have said, yeah, you talk about what you're going to do and, how it is, I'm going to ravish you. You need to ravish me. I want you to stand on top of the ceiling and jump, like a wrestler,
Chandelier.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Oh, can we get a swinging? Listen, you don't know what that person's like. So because you don't know what they're like, really, because
Yeah.
talk is cheap.
Talk
Yeah.
is cheap.
You
But
know,
I think that that's even good because you will grow together on that
yeah,
journey.
yeah.
I don't know if you should not say anything,
No,
because then that
if
person
if
might
the
be
subject
thinking,
comes, if the subject,
what am I getting myself involved in here? This person ain't even giving off nothing, no vibe, no
yeah, but
nothing.
what happens if then you're giving it off like that again, and then it's like, oh yeah, this is my man, you know. As Denzel said, and those that have watched it will know it, my man,
My
yeah.
man.
And then all of a sudden, it's like no, and I think I learned this from a young age as well, because I used to hear my friends say certain things about their women, and I become friends with the woman, and the woman
Be like, no,
she'll tell me
not on your
something
godpa.
completely different to what the person has been saying.
Yeah.
Drop asleep, minutes,
Mm,
and
yeah.
you're asleep, and it's like, wow, that's not how. And it's very difficult. I think there's And please comment.
Yeah, comment in the
You
chat.
guys.
What do you think?
Yeah, what do you think? What do you think? Do you think we
Yeah.
should talk about this prior to getting into a relationship?
But you know
or
what? People are just like, no, I got a break piece in it because I don't even know whether that's gonna run. Like I've heard Christians say that, like
yeah,
I got a bruck piece, man, and then see like because this is life or death kind of scenario. I don't think I can do that one. You know what I mean? I've heard Christians say that, and so it's because in their mind the expectation might be I don't want to marry this person. It's disappointing because I don't know if
but you see
I
that.
don't know if this is something that I can remain in if sexually me and that person isn't compatible.
But watch this, yeah. It's. Can I just? I'm gonna just read a couple of this list, yeah.
Mm.
But what I'm gonna say to that first of all is, you could cut piece and it's fantastic, but they lack in other areas, yeah. So
That
all of a
could be
sudden now you're
fantastic.
like,
It
it's
could be
fantastic.
fantastic that one time.
Well, that can be as well, yeah. But let's say it is for on a constant, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, if it is on a constant, and then but they lack in other areas. So here we go. Yeah, this is something that I was reading today. They say 8 things you should expect from a relationship, and they say affection. I won't go into this.
Yeah.
Yeah, affection, compassion, respect, which came up again from this is a different
Yeah,
person.
from the other one.
Consideration, time, interest, intimacy, generosity.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's a case that let's look at the intimacy. The intimacy is great, but yet they don't give you time. They don't consider your feelings. Because I also think that in making love, there's or if you call it sex, or whatever you call it out there needs to be consideration for him and her.
Yeah.
You know, this is going back to this unspoken expectation. There needs to be that conversation at some point that, you know what,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm giving, I don't want you just to be taken. You should be given, but what if that
Yeah,
person's not
that's
into
the expectation. That's a
Yeah,
good one because
yeah,
the expectation is for the man always to make a move.
right. It doesn't have to be. I know women who been like, they're ripping off your clothes already. And you're like,
Mm-hmm.
girl, really? Yeah? All right, go on. Because you're not
Mm-hmm.
used to that.
Yeah.
I remember saying something to somebody one time and they were offended. Well, it just shut down. They didn't want to be with me anymore.
Yeah.
But I'd never experienced that before. A woman making the first move on me,
Move. Yeah.
lips in me. And I said, oh, you're fast, isn't it? But I didn't mean it in a horrible way. But they took it like that. And all of a sudden now, I was so into her, and then
But you
they
know
don't
what?
want me no more.
It's funny you say that because I watched a clip today on when you're looking at the reels. So I was on
Yeah.
Facebook and there was this woman and she was pranking her husband, yeah, and she was just like, watch how I'm gonna manhandle my husband. And so what she did, she lifted him up and put him on the work counter, yeah, like what is something he would
Yeah.
do. And he was like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Move. What are you doing? And she was busting up laughing. She was running after him and saying, come here, like that, like she was like some man. And the thing is that even though that was a joke, there are some women who feel like if they was to make that move, that man wouldn't personally like it because it's not something, it doesn't make them feel masculine. And then there's other men who want their partners to make that move and
Yeah.
then they don't say nothing and then they sulk and get upset because I'm always making a move, and it's an unspoken thing. And you might wonder why that man don't want to be intimate. He might not want to be intimate, and you're like, well, what's the problem? You might start thinking it's something about you and whatever, but it's an unspoken thing. I'm always making a move, and this is why it's important. Anything that is going on that is going to cause you inside of you, that is going to cause you to be upset, to have that person up, to build resentment, you need to speak that out, because that unspoken words, you're not going to get what you want, and that person isn't going to understand what it is that you
Definitely.
want from them. And it's an
Definitely.
expectation. It's an expectation that you want to be met, and not all the time your expectations are going to met. The things that you want is not always going to happen for you. And so there's that point where you have to deal with that expectation that you had, and because of disappointment will kick in. Disappointment, resentment, bitterness, all of that will kick in. What did he say? What did he say?
Here you go. Hang on, sorry. So should you tell a woman you are a 5-minute man, or your things are half size? What do the sisters say if the man you've dated for a year and you appear compatible? Sisters talk. So he's asking you women out there.
Should he be honest, basically?
Yeah. Can I let me and please women on here, please comment. We'll read Eddie's in just a moment, Eddie. I believe that if you are and you choose to have that conversation with that woman, and that woman shuts you down, she's cold. No, if she is, but not just cold, because you see,
because that's just one area.
There are underlying factors as to why some people don't have a high stamina, and there are exercises and there are other things that you can do that can increase your stamina level, so that then he's no longer a 5-minute man. You know, I'm going to talk really frank. I want you to read Eddie and Millicent's afterwards. The fact remains is that for some men and some, let's talk from a man's perspective, because I talk to men, so I know this to be a true fact, that they're used to, maybe, and I'll use the word pow, that's having fast penetrative sex, and they last with that, and then you meet a woman and she says, oh no, slow down, and he's not used to the slowness. So all of a sudden now that feeling is overwhelming, that he ejaculates. It's too much, you know. But your body can get used to the slow motion.
You know? There's a book called Maximizing Manhood.
I've read that. I've read that as well.
That's a really good book.
And I think that you have to understand him and understand her. You know, it might be a woman that maybe there's no secretion, you know, and then you as a man will think that you're not turning her on. So then all of a sudden that you're going off her because you're going off for something that you know of somebody else. Right. And, you know, so you become a bit cold and distant. You know what? Shane into me, you know, because this ain't happening. But there are other factors that can happen to a woman's body, you know. So instead of looking at that he's 5 minutes, Anthony, or looking at that she's not where she should be, we have to understand that there are underlying factors that can be there as well.
And it's having the conversation. It's having the conversation.
There you go.
And it's not having the expectation that this person can't change in this area, that this is how it is. If you have that conversation, then it's encouraging to that person to look about any issues that they might have. Like I know that book because somebody had an issue, and that book helped them with that issue. So it's not a case of, you know, just shut down. It's having the conversation, speaking about what your needs and what your desires are and so forth, and working through it together. Because if you're in it for life, if you're in that relationship, that marriage, then it's worth having those conversations.
Yeah. I hate and I hate having this thing about, because you're upset, this person sleeps in one room and the other person sleeps in the other room. I hate it with a passion. You know, I had that experience once in my life, and the person said for me to go and sleep downstairs or in the other room, and I said to him, no, this is my bed. This is our bed. Yeah. I said, if you want to go, that's fine, you know, but I'm staying in the bed. They said, right, I'm going. I said, oh, let me just say something to you. Don't let me wake up in the morning and you're not in this bed. This is our marital bed. You know, that wasn't me being abusive. That was me telling you that you don't need to leave that room because we're at loggerheads. You know, we have a talk all night and resolve it, or we find ourselves, because it's late, early, and have this conversation before it gets worse.
Yeah.
You know, other factors happen and that relationship ended. However, you can't be this again, you know, this expectation that you can tell a man to go and sleep in the other room and it's okay, or you tell her to go. No, you're married. You can work at. I learned that you can work at anything if you put the time and the effort in. Go ahead, Deb.
Yeah. So Eddie said, I believe trust, communication, love is a must. You grow how you understand. Yeah, you grow how you understand how a woman works. I think that, you know, it is about growing together. It is about learning from each other. Millicent says, Amo, no man, no, I don't think he should have to say anything. I think that she said it like that as well.
Yeah, ammo, man. No, I don't think he should say anything.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Was there another message? Nita said that she agrees, and I think that she was agreeing with what you said, Paul. Amo said, "Are you a woman?" We say sisters talk, whatever.
Listen. Shh. I could drop you
No,
off here
you need
anytime I
help.
want. Yeah.
Let's have a look at this one. It's not honesty, really. It is his business early in a relationship. Yeah. So earlier on in a relationship, absolutely. I'm getting this all messed up here now. Yeah, we was talking about like when you go past that stage of relationship and then enter into a marriage. I think that in a relationship where you're starting out, if you intend to marry, I think that there's certain things that I don't think that it's going to add to a relationship, saying, you know, I only go 5 minutes and, you know, I'm half size. I don't see what that's going to add to a relationship. But again, it's honesty from his perspective, but I don't ever see a man ever ready to say that at all. Millicent said, I believe that if you have fallen in love with a man and this is the case, size or endurance, there are many ways through this with the person.
Absolutely.
And I agree, because it's only one aspect of your relationship. Yes,
People
it's only
put it into a
part of
box.
the relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Amo said, but if him half size, wami agodo. No, is that what you said?
Where am I going? Where am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Why agodo?
You see, again, you
1
know,
minute.
this.
Travel buffet. Late in the conversation. Hi, Cars. Good to have you guys on board.
My cars,
Late in this convo. Wow, this is deep stuff. Yeah, go on.
Millicent,
What is Millicent saying?
Millicent saying, maybe you're right. Him should make sure she love him. In other words, make sure she love him first before him saying anything about him size. But you see, it you know, the thing is yeah, for some men and
It's going to
some
be
women.
important now.
Huh?
Some people
Yeah,
it is
that is important. Yeah. So if it's important,
then it's a conversation that
you know
somebody
what?
might want to have.
There is so much about making love and it being enjoyable for both, because I obviously I know a lot of women who talk to me and they talk about this in particular, and they talk about the man who they were with before, and then all of a sudden edie beady, you know, and they say, you know what, before I was just stuck on this and I was used to that, but it was painful, or, you know, it was what I was used to, so I enjoyed it, but I didn't know that if I had a man who was half that size, that it wasn't just that, it was everything else that he did
Everything else
with
about
me,
him.
you know, that none of them would do, or some of them did, you know.
Absolutely.
because you see, again, you know, and we talk frank on here, you know, you have some men that will not do oral and some women that won't do oral as well. And that comes again, that unspoken expectation that you expect that this woman is going to do what the last woman done, or the man's going to do what the last man was doing as well.
Yeah.
And so if is it a fundamental key thing? That's your choice on that in itself. Is it has to be somewhere in your conversation, and then how important it make your relationship. I remember being with somebody that I remember when I met my wife.
Let me just say this. Let me just say this. Before you're going to be intimate with that person, you would have developed such a strong bond and relationship with them to the point that you saying that you are going to say, I do. And then the sex is going to cause your whole relationship to break down. Like everything, like that is not workable. I can't see that. What did
you see it as well? Do you know what I want to tell everybody, right? This young man here, right? And I call him a young man, yeah, is a character, but he's a good character.
I'm sure they figured that by now.
They figured that out already.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments, Amo.
Yep,
they're very human.
definitely. I think that at the end of the day, it's, if that's what's important to you, it is something to talk about. It is the unspoken expectation that there's going that you
don't let it be an unspoken expectation.
Yeah, don't let it be.
No.
I think, as I said, I still believe though, for those that are in that kind of position that he's not really great at sex and she's not really great at sex, you can work at it. There is so much in that box. And if you're only looking at penetrative as the go-to, then so be it. If you need to go and buy tools to bring in, you know, that's up to you what you want to do. You understand me? But if you're looking for gratification and satisfaction, you both got to work it together at the end of the day. Absolutely. But you do need to have that conversation, you know.
But you know what did Millicent say, Paul?
Which one? Where?
The last one.
No. What, that one?
No. You can speak patois better than me.
Never was genuine work. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what that is. But as I said, at the end of the day, we need to talk. Going back to that list, I think that it's very important that these are supposed to be normal expectations. Normal. Affection. Compassion. Because you do need to be compassionate. You do have to. Like I said, I don't want to break down in all what they said. When you are in a relationship, you often have a feeling that you are living as part of a team. You both encourage each other to achieve your goals. But on the flip side, you should offer your support in difficult times. Therefore, it is natural to expect from the partner to be compassionate when you're going through certain life problems. And I'm gonna put my hand up that I've been guilty like that sometimes, you know. And so I love this subject that we're talking about, because I need to make sure that I do these as well. Yeah. You know, affection, compassion, respect. Sorry, Debbie. Consideration, time, interest, intimacy, generosity. Those are the key things that they believe that should be normal expectations. And if they're not normal in your relationship, have a look at them. Come together. If you're married and you're on here and and things aren't working out, come together and have a conversation. You know, it's so horrible to see. Sorry, I'm just going to go deep for a moment, Debbie, just for a second, 30 seconds.
No, go ahead.
It's so horrible to see. You know, Debbie and I are divorcees, and it's horrible. It's horrible that, you know, you try your best and things fall short, and you come to the place that, but when you come to the end of the road of trying all these things, you know, adjusting to being generous, being compassionate, being, considerate and stuff like if those key things you have added into your relationship and that person isn't receiving none of that, or it's not reciprocated, I said it now, then it's something I have to ask the question. And I heard a brother say this on a podcast as well. You need to question why you're in this.
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
why are you spending a lifetime with somebody that nothing's happening?
Nothing's
happening.
changing. Yeah.
Nothing's changing. Nothing's happening. You're just together,
Yeah.
because it looks good, because you religious things or whatever someone said you shouldn't. Why? My personal opinion, and I said this, I don't believe that God created us to be unhappy in a relationship, in a marriage. I don't. And I think that if you're walking around for years unhappy, you need to question yourself, question who you are, because you should
and
never.
your self-worth and your value.
Yes,
because ultimately it will boil down to value. How much value do you place on yourself when you've tried and you've worked through a number of different things, or try to work through? Because I think that within relationships, it will never ever work if it's just going to be one person that is working on it. It's like trying to eat with a knife. Do you know what I mean? And you don't have to fork. You need that person's cooperation in order for it to be able to work. And if what I find within relationships, when you're speaking to people and they have unspoken expectations, I think it's so unfair for that person, because somebody wants you to meet a need, but they haven't told you what that need is.
Right.
And admittedly, as somebody that mentors and does counseling and coaching and that, there are people admittedly that don't fundamentally know what they want. They don't. And so because they don't know what they want, they make the other person's life a misery, because that person hasn't yet figured out who they are and what they actually want. So you're constantly trying to please them in all these different areas, and they don't know. It's like they genuinely don't know. And this is why I think it's important for some in some relationships to get counseling, so that conversations can be had, so that that person can dig a little bit deeper within their soul and find out what it is that they actually want and need in a relationship. Because there are those unspoken words, unspoken expectations, because that person doesn't know what to expect. They don't know what they want. And I think that that's a difficult and a challenging one, but it does exist. And also, when you're in a relationship and that person expects you to be a certain way and you're not being that way, it's because that's what they want. That's exactly what they want. And I don't think that they ought to, that they're in that position to like change you. I think that they're in that position to help, to support you in the person who you are. But I don't think fundamentally that they should be there trying to change you, because that what it is that they desire, you're not giving it to them. And this is why it's important to have those conversations before, because when you're already in it, it's kind of like this person is hardwired, you're hardwired, and now there's the conflict. And then there has to be that give. There has to be that working and changing and supporting each other to not necessarily change who you are. Do you get what I mean? Like some people, they're like, oh, I'm not going to change. I'm not going to change. But there are aspects of you that will need to change and need to evolve, so that the relationship will be better for both of you. Like, you know what is kind of baffling to me? How somebody is not prepared to change in order for the relationship to change. When I say change, I don't mean, the fundamental core essence of who you are. I don't mean that. I mean somebody who is saying something like, well, I've never had to cook, so I don't see why I should cook. Like, what on earth is that? Like, you don't even have to, you should be able to compromise and say, well, I will cook 2 times a week then. I will cook for my husband too. I know of people that said, I've never had to cook in a relationship. My man's always had to cook. My man's always cooked. I'm not that good a cook. Learn, innit? That's why they got books. Learn how to cook. You think that
and if
anybody woke
he's
up one day and just learn and just cook? You learn how to cook. And if that's
yeah,
your husband, you're going to want to learn how to cook so that you can please him. Don't come and say, oh, I've never had to cook in my relationship. That was those men that you was with. They was willing either to go takeaway, or you got food from your mother-in-law or whatever. Don't come and say in this relationship now, oh, I've never had to cook. But again, if that man never spoke about the expectation, I expect my partner, because you know what, he could be sitting there thinking, well, all the women that I've had, they cook, innit? So you
or
don't
maybe
even
he
need
didn't like her cooking. Maybe
yeah,
he
you
didn't
don't
like her
even need to have that conversation. You might not
cooking.
even need to have that conversation. You think in your head because it's an unspoken expectation. So you go into the relationship and now you're there coming home expecting dinner and you're getting takeaway and you're getting all manner of stuff. Do you know what I mean? Or we're gonna go to my mum's or whatever.
You see, the good thing,
Read those before we go on.
where we're
We're
going, we're gonna go back up. Yeah, we're gonna come down soon. So where were we? Very good, Debbie. Let it be an unspoken expectation. Amo says translation never was going to work. It would never work without the convo up front. Thank you, Amo, Millicent. Let's go down to something else.
Back to the beginning counseling.
Yeah, where you're talking, what you were just saying, and she was saying that, you know, back to the beginning, you know, in all of this, go back to counseling, you know. What's this one? Even consider trying learning to see if this deficiency can become an efficiency. That's very good.
Absolutely.
You know, a different let's put it back up. Let's put it up. Did that not come up? There it is. A different perspective, but is happiness deserved? Jesus died on the cross, never got the respect he deserved. Should we leave a marriage because we are not happy?
Domestic violence, and that is understandable.
Yeah. Well, that can be the factor, domestic violence, etc. As to why you leave. One of my marriage was domestic violence, and no one ever knew that I was going through it. And I'm taking it in the hope that it was going to change. That makes you unhappy. I wasn't being real to myself. I could have backside anytime I wanted to, but I wasn't being real to myself, because this expectation that a woman who is serving God is going to give me all, or meet every one of my needs, if that be the case. But I also think that I was going to say this earlier on with what you're talking about, Debbie. I think that some people have learned things from their mums and their dads, that is how they've come into the relationship. And some things are negative.
A lot of us have.
Yeah, there are some women that they are nagging, you know, and they don't cook, they don't do anything, and all the expectation is on the man to do everything that what they deem as a man to do.
Yeah, because sometimes if they're coming from a household where the family is being split up, so they're coming from a household where it's raised by their mum, some woman's perspective is, I'm not going to be like my mum. I'm not going to be doing everything. I'm not going to be cooking. I'm not going to be cleaning. I'm not going to be doing all these stuff after no man, because ultimately that's what my mum did. I'm not going to be doing that. Do you know what I'm saying? But they've got it so twisted, because you're now putting yourself in a situation where you don't need to be in, because ultimately you're not with your dad. Do you know what I mean? This man is your man. And if you now put yourself in the position as your mother, where she had to struggle and she had to do things by herself, and now you're in a relationship and you're not going to do it, I don't get it. But I know women who are like that, where they're like, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to kill up myself for no man. I'm not going to cook. I'm not going to clean. Not going to do any of that. Let him get his own dinner. Do you know what I mean? All of those kind of things, where ultimately that man is the person that you're saying you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And why is he going to want to spend the rest of his life with you if your mindset is, I'm not going to do nothing for you because my dad didn't do nothing for me? Do you know what I mean? That's just daddy issues that you've brought into that relationship. And the sooner you can identify that and see that that's
That's
daddy
right.
issues that you're coming into that relationship with, the
Mm-hmm.
better it's going to be for you and for him. And acknowledge it, you know, like it's funny, you know, because when I speak to some women and I say to them exactly like what I said there, that's a daddy issue right there. They'll be like, oh, why are you saying that? Why are you saying that? Why are you always sticking up for him? And I'm like, I'm not. I'm just telling you, I'm just being real with you. Like, some people don't like hearing the truth from me, because I will tell you straight. That's a daddy issue right there. Why are you going to
Yep.
make this man pay for something that he hasn't done? He hasn't done that to you.
And
He
and
hasn't.
and those that have mummy issues as well. You know,
Absolutely.
you're
Yeah.
coming in.
But
Well,
their mum is so
my mum did
domineering.
this. My mum done that. My mum this. My mum that. You know, listen, that's your mum. That's not your relationship. Your
That's
mum
not
and your
your
dad
relationship.
relationship is not yours. And if they're not together, and your mum's bitter and twisted or whatever else it is, then that's to do with her. That's what happened to her.
Absolutely.
That doesn't have to happen to you. You understand it? And you can't take on your mum's character when you're gonna. I ain't gonna let no man treat me like that as well. You know, because my dad.
Yeah.
Listen. That was their relationship. You know,
Yeah.
that was mum and dad's relationship. And for us, if our mum and our dad had a disagreement, we'd go out and play. Yeah, that was the opportunity to go and play, because that's big people's conversation. Yeah,
Yeah.
what you go through with your ex, your husband, whatever, that's that issue. You know, I was one that carried them over,
Yeah. A lot of people did.
carried them
I
over,
did. I
until I
absolutely
realized that,
did.
hold on a second, you know, my wife is not my past.
Yeah.
She's my future.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got to work and weed out some of the, if not all, but most of what I had in me, in order to
Learn
make this a
behavior.
successful relationship, you
Yeah.
know. And guess what? I'm still learning,
Still
and I'm
learning.
still married. Yeah.
Because it's learned behavior, and there
Yes,
are
it
some
is.
things that you have to unlearn and
Mm,
relearn. Like, you have to, it's non-negotiable. How can you ever evolve and grow and become better if you don't unlearn certain things? Like, some people are so hardwired, you know, they're so stuck in their ways that is it. And ultimately, you're not going to change me. Nobody's going to change me. Well, live a life by yourself, old, dried up, by yourself, because
and if you're
that's
happy
where
like
people
that,
like that end up.
then stay like that.
Let's,
Let's end up
let's
with
read
some of
this one.
these. Yeah.
And I like this, because ultimately, I said ultimately, like, so many times tonight, some people think that it's not an ongoing thing, counseling, but I think that it's imperative for some relationships, especially, you know, like if you go through the honeymoon period and so forth, and everything's rosy, and then you just hit a point where things are being challenging. Go back to counseling. It's not bad for you to go back. It doesn't mean that your relationship is necessarily failing. It's just that there might be communication issues, there might be misunderstandings, and you just need clarity, or you just might need somebody that is going to mediate between the two of you, because, you know, you're thinking one way, they're thinking another way, total opposites. Let's have a look at what Ammo's saying. How about the trial Hosea got put through? Absolutely. How about our relationships with God? Are we faithful brides? Should he divorce us? Just food for thought. Absolutely. So the reason why Hosea went through what he went through, marrying a prostitute and his life just being in turmoil, was because that's what God was trying to show to the children of Israel, that he loved them so much, but they was constantly cheating, constantly going to other gods, constantly, you know, running away from him. And it was a depiction of that. And it was them having to see how Hosea, it was literally a depiction of how God loves us so much and we are not faithful to him. And yeah, in relationships, I believe, like, there's a whole conversation, a whole topic about love. And I said it's in 1 Corinthians 13, I believe, where it tells us what love looks like from a biblical perspective. And I've found it hard to measure up to that, you know, where it says love is patient, love is kind, love is, you know, keeping no records of wrong and all of that. I find it difficult to match up to that. And love isn't about it being reciprocal, unfortunately. It's about you giving of yourself.
Giving. That's
And
right.
if you are loving someone wholeheartedly, eventually that person will love you back. That's how it's meant to be. But that isn't how it always happens. Just as much
Hands
as
up.
you might bless somebody, that person might not necessarily bless you back. And it's a hard one. And I think that we're all growing in that area to understand that love isn't about what we get back. It's about what we put out. And it's that one's just hard. I ain't gonna
Mhm.
lie, because everyone wants to feel loved. Everyone wants to feel cared for. Everyone wants to know that somebody is respecting them and all of those good stuff. Everyone is gonna want that. Dennis says that's why you date, so that you can know the person. Yeah, we was
Absolutely.
talking about that, and we've spoken about that a number of times, that unfortunately even through the dating process you still end up with their representative. That when you're
Mhm.
married, it's still, it doesn't mean that that person is that person that you thought they was. It can happen, and you can be in a relationship with someone for years, as I was, and things just went pear-shaped. Things
Mhm.
went south, and prior to it going south, you're kind of like, I was in my head thinking, what on earth has gone wrong here? Like, how on earth did this happen? Like, this is
How
crazy.
did you get
My
here? Yep.
relationship wasn't like this like 5 years ago. It was like 10 years plus into the marriage, then things went really pear-shaped. So but when, with hindsight looking back, there was little cracks, there was little things that I didn't pick up along the way. But I think that it is what it is. When you grow and you learn, I got married in my early 20s. When you grow and you learn, you start to identify things that are
Mm.
red flags, as they say. Go ahead, read that one then.
So, Millicent, that is some raw bitterness and sin. I think something that you were saying. Hi,
Hmm.
Cassie. Nice to see you here. Um, uh, she says, here we go. Learn, learn in it. And she says, I'm I am. Oh, you're behind. Are you saying are you behind in us with all of this? I'm not too sure. Millicent says that that's right, Dennis. Dating is getting the data up front.
Hmm.
Um,
Ideally,
the
ideally,
idea. Yep.
yeah.
She says she turns around and she says, "Ha ha ha, oil and dry up." Yeah, you're saying. Anno says, "Press the like button, people. 16 lives, only 4 likes. Help this go viral." Yes, people, that's
Oh,
really nice.
thank
Thank you
you.
so much, Anthony. Appreciate that, man. Million
Yeah.
Dennis, dating. Going, let me put it up. Sorry. Million Dennis, dating only gives what somebody wants to show you. A lot of the time, the real person may only be seen in marriage. Do you know what? I pressed it up already, and it's just
Oh,
coming
did
now.
you?
Yeah. Um, you read the last two, and let's come down.
Yeah. So, what is that? Layman, love covers a multitude of
Yeah,
sin.
yeah.
Um, and then, Amen, Debs. Uh, Love wants to be reciprocated. It is hard to continue without reciprocation. Absolutely. And so I think that we all kind of agree that, you know, being forthright, being upfront, expressing yourself before the relationship, gets to the point where you're marrying someone, that it's good to see if you can seek wise counsel. And Paul said it earlier on. It's about finding those people who you can trust as well,
Mm,
that you have that conversation with. I think that all of us, as say, like, unspoken expectations, it is what it is. It is going to be there, but I think that all of us can concur, having those unspoken expectations isn't good. Speaking them, letting that person know what it is that you want, what you like, what you dislike, without making them feel, insecure, without demasculizing them. Or
mm,
is it demasculizing? You guys know what I mean. Without making that other person feel like all you're doing is pointing the finger. You're not meeting this need, you're not meeting that need. Have those heartfelt, warm conversations, and get some books, get some resources, go online together, check out what is being said, and see what it is. Because sometimes, like I said, it's unspoken. Like, they don't
yeah.
people don't know what it is that they want. And sometimes it might mean you having a book, or you going online and you think, what do you think about that? What he said or what she said. What do you think about that?
You've got to show interest
And
in
hearing what their
in,
response is.
in them. This is an investment, you know. Marriage is an investment together. This isn't me and you and you know, well you didn't, I did.
It's a
You know,
partnership.
especially that if you've invested 5 years and 10 years and 15 years, there are people married for 30, 40 years and they break up. And you wonder, what was you guys doing? Well, what they weren't doing is that they had unspoken expectations that weren't being met and they didn't talk. So again, I'm going to say it, and this is my closing part, is if please share, put the banner up, please, Debbie.
We haven't done any of that today.
Please like, please tell your friends, tell your family members, etc. But what I was going to say is this, is if you're going through marital issues, and I'll say relationship issues, talk. Let one talk and you listen. Hear what they're saying, because that's valid. What they're saying is valid. It's how they
even if you don't
feel.
agree with it.
Even if you don't agree with it, it's valid because it's their perspective, it's their feelings. And likewise, whoever decides to speak first, the other person speaking, listen to them. You know, I said it before a few weeks ago. If you got to take notes, then take notes so that you can address the issues, but don't be in a relationship, an intimate relationship that's just got all these jagged edges and ready to cut you all down. You can't, no one will survive that. Your marriage cannot survive it. It will not survive it with all those jagged edges. Yeah. They got to be smoothed down, and it's not one person smoothing, it's both of you smoothing them down. And it will, and I believe more than ever before, you know, it can work. With me being a believer of the Most High, I believe injecting him into your marriage, into your relationship as well, it works. If you're a non-believer, I still say talk. And if you know people who are believers, ask them to pray for you. Ask them to pray for your marriage, you know, and you'll be so surprised what God can do.
Amen. Preach it, preacher. Hold on. Let me see what's being said there, because I just see get some toys thing that was just going on.
I said that earlier on, Millie. Listen.
Okay. Cass said that she was behind. No worries, you can always watch the replay.
Please like and subscribe.
Yeah, please like and subscribe. What was that? Get some toys. Got any recommendation?
Wow. Ann Summers, here we come. Anybody Ann Summers on here? Millicent needs some help. Yeah?
Any recommendations?
Ann Summers rep.
Thank
you very much, Sonia.
Thank you, sis. Brilliant topic, both of you. I enjoyed it. See you all next week. Bye all. So thanks for that. So I just wanted to just close by saying thank you all for coming on today, for participating. Loved your comments, loved the chat, loved the banter. It's absolutely phenomenal.
Anthony and everybody.
Anthony, Millicent. Thank you all for joining us. I think that this topic, it could go on and on. You know, we've gone way over our normal time. I mean, I think that now we're kind of getting at like an hour, just over an hour, to be quite honest. But yeah, it's definitely necessary to have the conversations, and I can guarantee that this will be something that will be going over in your mind in the next couple of days about unspoken expectations. And you probably might be in situations where, you know, this might come up, and it might cause you to pause for a moment and think about what it is that you want to say, or what it is that person might be saying to you. So
play this back if you need to the person that
absolutely,
you're with, your significant other.
And like I said, I had a conversation with someone which prompted this conversation. So yeah, I know that you're going to be watching. If you're not watching right now, yeah, play it to your partner, see what they say, see what they think about what we've been discussing. It'll be good to get your feedback. You can follow us on social media, especially on Instagram. We're active over there. Yeah, follow us, guys. Share with your friends, share with your families. Let's get the numbers up. Let's try to monetize this so that we can bring out more content. Because when you're working and doing your stuff, you're just like struggling to try and get the topics and the issues. But yeah, we really appreciate it, guys, for you spending time with us this evening. And yeah, have a phenomenal evening. And was there one more message?
Love the professionalism from Millicent.
And Carl's
Yeah.
put a
And Carl
heart up.
sends love.
Back at
Love
you.
to you all. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You know, and get your motivation on.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time.